Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Home Dad Chat. It's been one of those fun, cold. It's getting colder.
Getting
I feel maybe for up north
filthy
it's
casual.
maybe
Sorry.
It's cold. Sorry if you're in the north, it's really cold. Some of us others are having weird weather where it's colder than it normally is. So, but other than that, I mean, it's been an interesting past week. I turned 42 last week.
Yay.
That was wild. And I really didn't expect it to be much, honestly, but I had quite a few people make my birthday very special. Danny
Good.
and his family are one of them. Danny sent me a bottle of old elk with a really cool elk head pour. Like it's a really neat like pewter slash like I don't know, it's like dipped gold. I don't even know exactly what do you call that exactly, but um just a unicorn thing that I've wanted, and he was able to track one down and gift it to me. So
You said you said unicorn. You mean like a very rare thing you haven't been able to get. But when you said unicorn, I'm like, no, dude, it's an elk. Oh
it's an
God,
elk.
edit that out. It's an elk. Edit that out. But you're, oh no, a unicorn, like one of
A
those things.
unicorn
It's like
bottle,
with the
yeah,
bourbon, with the bourbon thing, where it's there's
yeah,
the bottles you don't see or that are hard to get to. But
exactly.
yeah,
So
that is definitely yeah. If anybody ever sees it and you want one, get it as soon as you can because they go fast, and I'm
yeah.
surprised they don't make more of them because it is just the coolest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It
and we talked about it too that it's a pourer but not a cork
Right.
or a
It's not a
stopper.
cork. It's not a
So
stopper. It's an
yeah,
actual pour piece. So yeah, just
yeah,
like if you go to the bar and you get a shot, like how like you get that plastic piece that pours out. This is like a really big, really cool elk head that sits on top of the
you,
bottle.
you know what that means.
What does
You're
that
gonna
mean?
you can't leave it in the bottle, right? Or the alcohol will just like
Right. Yeah,
rip.
yeah. Because
So
I
what
was
you're gonna
gonna
have to do is empty that bottle and get another one for drinking, but you keep the pour in the empty, right?
Well, I
Yeah.
I actually so one of the things that I also got was my wife got a hold of one of our good friends from church, good buddy of mine. We talk about him every once in a while, David McMillan on here,
Mhm.
and he made me a wood shelf to hold all of my bottles of whiskey and bourbon and scotch.
Nice.
And it looks like it looks like a barrel the way it's curved and everything. It's really neat. And so
Cool.
actually, where I have the old elk bottles, I can actually sit this kind of on its side in between the bottles because it's
Hmm.
so top heavy. Like you can't just like set it up and be like, hey, look, it's like an elk on the wall. No, it doesn't work well that way. I'd have to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
actually make its own little notch and all that to make that happen. But and I don't want to ruin my shelf, but I have a place for it. So when it's not in the bottle, it is displayed. It's
Does
just
have its spot.
it
Yeah,
does
yeah.
have its spot. So that's at least one thing. But yes, once the bottle's empty, I will definitely just have it up there for show. So
Well,
that
what I'm saying is you need to tell Corey, sorry, honey, I gotta empty this bottle or it'll go bad. So I gotta get another one. And we gotta empty this one.
uh-huh.
Problem
Yeah,
solved, right? Problem
yeah.
solved.
We're not even gonna go there because that'll start a fight in my house. So but it's it's all good. So yeah, so I got that, and I got a couple of other bottles that she surprised me with, and it's just
Nice.
a nice quiet birthday, so it was good. This is the third birthday or second birthday, third birthday, I'm trying to think. Yeah, third birthday that I've celebrated during the pandemic, basically, or almost the third
Hmm.
birthday. So just it's been nuts. So yeah, but other than that,
So it was
you know
so January 2020.
yeah, it was
It's a
just
little
so
bit before, yeah,
a little
because
bit before.
mine's in
Yeah.
January too. So that's what I was thinking. I
Well,
was thinking, I think it's almost been three because it was out
yeah,
in the world 3 years ago.
it was.
Yeah.
It was. For me, I guess. we'll just say tragic times.
Definitely.
3 years of tragic times because when I turned 40, my grandfather passed away. So to have that, and then like
Yeah.
41 was the pandemic, 42 is the pandemic. You're like, all right, like it needs to be done. But,
Well, I'm
yeah,
sure it'll be gone before your next birthday.
I,
Sure of it.
yeah, fingers
Yeah.
crossed. Knees hitting the floor. Prayer
Yep.
hands,
Yeah.
prayer hands
Sure
up.
hope so.
Turn 3 times, click your heels. There's no place like home.
Salt over the shoulder, whatever you do. I don't care. Just go.
Do not send the Terminator. Like I don't know what other like references we want to put out there, but yeah, I hope it's all coming to a close here.
Yeah. I think we're
Hopefully
all
this.
about just as about as fed up with it as we can get. And
I
especially, and this is, and it's a minor thing, really. It's really, I really don't like to complain about anything about being an at home dad, right?
right.
Because one, this is a huge fortunate thing for us. Now we sacrificed a lot so that we could have somebody stay home, and it's not been it's not been easy. But realistically, I've got a great life, so I don't want to, but still, going from having all the kids in school to like Thursday, they announced the whole district shutting down for a week.
Oh,
They don't have
really?
enough teachers. They don't have. They had. I think they've got a little over 1,900 students at the high school, and they had over 400 out.
Wow.
And it wasn't COVID per se, but it was, and I will say, I feel like a lot of parents wouldn't say it was COVID. Like, oh, they got just a little sniffle, they're fine. Do they? But I feel like that was enough that it was warranted, and then they
Right.
shut it down for a whole week, right? And I'm looking at this whole week, and I've got electricians in, I've got sheetrockers in. They were in yesterday, and they're coming into mud tomorrow, and then the other stuff they're doing here. Hopefully, get this office finished. And I'm looking at like, this is the most amazing stuff that I've got. I'm so just grateful and blessed, and just I feel privileged is the word that I should use. But at the same time, they're driving me crazy.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
aren't they at school? Why aren't they gone? What are you doing here, man? I don't.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing here in Cincinnati. That's the thing here in Cincinnati. They actually just voted to go to remote, and man, the comments that I've been seeing on Facebook from local families that are just like, here we go again, like
Yeah,
and just the horror that is facing them. Like as a stay-at-home dad, and I know there's quite a few stay-at-home dads that I know here locally, they're probably not sweating it as much. Although the
mhm,
fact that they're like, dang it, where did my free time go? Like
yeah,
kind of deal. But at the same time, at least they don't have to scramble to, you know, find a way to make it work
exactly.
or
Yeah,
whatever. So that's, yeah, that is definitely a benefit, and one of those areas where I think a lot of stay-at-home dads are in that place where it's just like, yeah, it stinks. I'm not getting the time where
hmm
my kids would be in school and I would be getting their things done. But
like clean, and it would stay that way for like 4 or
yep,
5 hours.
right, exactly. Yeah, cleaning, laundry.
Yeah, right. And it's a journey. It's a never-ending journey. So it's not like you're going to get finished, but at least you could get to a point
Yep,
where you feel like, yeah, I got this done.
running errands without having tag-alongs.
Yes,
That's a big one.
that's a big one.
So being able
Yeah.
to like, oh look, I can go in this coffee shop and get coffee without having kids asking me for other things.
hmm
That's gone. Uh, all that
Or,
kind of stuff.
and you just get food, whatever you eat, get food that you don't have to share with anybody.
Right.
Such an amazing feeling. It's like, oh wait, no, I only have to have one meal
Yep.
instead of like 11, it seems.
Right.
Uh,
So just all those different things. But so hopefully, you know, for those that are going to be on this remote, that it, what needs to take place and happens. So I actually saw where a technical school in Brooklyn high school, they had the kids, apparently nobody was listening to them about the fact that they didn't want to be there in person because they didn't feel safe. And so they did a walkout protest today to
oh wow.
basically like say, we want the option for remote learning. So
hmm
more power to them, honestly. I mean, people aren't
Yeah.
going to listen. Like that's the way to go about it. If so hopefully something happens in that avenue that makes things safer for them.
And if your kids aren't feeling safe, especially, if they
Right.
have that anxiety, whatever, I think one of the big things, and leading into kind of what we're going to talk about tonight, I think, is it was so much easier for me at my old house in Georgia to handle all of this with the teachers because I knew them so well.
Right.
All the new teachers up here, and I know them and they're nice, and I met them a couple of times, but they don't know me, I don't know them, and we're still kind of in that learning to dance together kind of thing. Like, how much is this parent actually going to support me as a teacher? Is he actually going to talk to his kids, or do I have to find some way to teach his kids to be respectful, or
Mm-hmm.
is that something that this parent's actually doing at home? Are they going to help, make their kids do their homework, or push them to read and all those other things? And at the previous school, when we went to, full time, all the kids were home, just, went from school in March to, we're staying home for the rest of the year. And they were, the entire year of 2020. And that relationship that I had with those teachers, because
Yeah.
I'd known them already, and more than just, oh, I know my teachers' names,
Mm-hmm.
but the ability to send them an email and go, hey, Mr. So and so, I know we were doing this and this is going on, and I'd really like to, move this forward or whatever. It
Yeah.
was really, really helpful, I think, to have that communication and that relationship beyond, the person that signs their agenda or whatever, signs their slip at the end of the day,
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
definitely. Yeah, because I mean that's the thing that I've really strived to try to do at our school. Like we have a small private school that we go to, so like a lot of a lot of the people there have uh it seems like the ratio is definitely a lot more stay-at-home moms than there are dads there.
Hmm.
And they've done a lot to try to bring dads into the fold at school in different ways. But they still, when you're like, hey, I'm a stay-at-home dad and I can do these things, like they kind of just look at you like, yeah, right. Like, you have to really put in the effort and the time to, you know,
Yeah.
show that you're willing to be there. And that's the thing. Yeah, like we were talking about, like this kind of the conversation for tonight is, what does that look like to get involved with your school, and what kind of things can come out of it, and the benefits and things like that. And so, like for me, my
Hmm.
kid's been there for 4 years now. Kindergarten, he's in third grade. Um, and from the get-go, like I jumped in and said, hey, like I can help out in the classroom if you need to, which they had quite a few parents that were already doing that. So it was one of those things where I came in a couple times for like some parties to like be there and just kind of help out where I could. But where I was more needed was the daily stuff. So for instance, like since we are a private school, one of the things that we don't have are like, lunchroom monitors. Like, some of the
Hmm.
teachers and stuff are there, but they don't have anything else. So like they rely on the parents to like they got time to come in and volunteer. So I actually would set up one day out of the week and I was there every single week to be
Nice.
there for lunch for a couple hours or an hour or whatever it was. I don't remember because it was like
Hmm.
multiple classes coming in, but everybody got to know me. They got to know who I was. I got to know the principals, and and that's just grown over time
Hmm.
for me. So like to the point where I like it's one of those deals where I saw like this need starting at the beginning of this year, and I'm like, man, like we just need more organization toward like the cleaning that goes on, like where things go and how it's sort of like prepped for each person. So I started taking it upon myself to just come in after I dropped the kids off and would set up a few different things for like the lunch crew every single day. And it's funny because I had to stop doing that because of surgery. And I
Oh
came
yeah.
back, I came back the other day to start like my first day. And I walk in and I open up the janitor closet and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, what tornado ran through this place? Like there were like 8 brooms in there and no dustpans and no dust mops anywhere. And just it was just the chaos. I called one of the guys up and I was like, hey man, like I'm back. What is going on? And where is this and this at? And he came over and he's like, that stuff's not there. I'm like, no, I mean, he's busy doing other things too. So he's not
Right.
really keeping account for it. He's like, man, he's like, I keep hearing like all this stuff. So he starts walking around the school and he ends up over in the high school cafeteria. He comes back with 3 dust mops. He's like, look what I found. I'm like, holy crap, dude. So, it's just one of those things where it's like you take it upon yourself to do something and then you have to
Hmm.
step away for a while and all chaos ensues. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I had the ability to just to say that kind of stuff because I've had that built up rapport.
Hmm.
And we see from time to time in the closed group where guys talk about how they're getting involved with their school and doing different things. And there are other guys who they're like, how do you do this? Or, how do you deal with, being looked over? We've talked about
Hmm.
that before.
Yeah.
You're the primary, but you're not treated as the primary. And it's one of those things where it's like, you could get mad about it, and be like, hey, like, look, I'm the person, just like, and be that way. Or you could
Right.
just go in and just keep proving yourself, hey, I'm here and this is the stuff I can do. And, take it in that realm and prove to them, because it's sad to say, but as dads, we have this thing where we have to prove to a lot of the teachers who are females that we
Yeah.
we are actually invested uh, in the situation, or kids in the school, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And to show that too, that one, your competence. That, yeah,
yeah,
I'm not just doing that this because no, my wife is fine. Yes, she's alive. We're all good. We're married and happy. Everything's yet I no, this is just what I do. In
right,
our family, it's better if the dad does all of this stuff, and that explanation that you have to do. I think you'll probably always have to do that until the world has really evolved a little bit to understand that, yeah, dads can nurture kids too. It's not a bad thing. They're not bad at it. They're not going to eat the kid. Stop that. It's fine. So, and also the moving into the school, there's all, with COVID, everything's a little bit more difficult.
oh
But what
sure,
you can do with the school is so much more open than what you realize. I mean, you can be, anything from a room parent to, offering to come in if your kids are smaller, especially to read stories.
yep,
Kids love having somebody come in. Yeah, your parent is like a great. Oh my God, so and so's dad's here, and they're gonna read, you know, whatever, the Hungry Caterpillar, whatever it is. Um, and then going as far as getting a group together, getting, like Watchdogs is one of them that does it. That's basically a group of dads that just goes to the school and make sure that there's a presence there, that people can see them and help take care of the kids, take care of the school.
yeah,
Um, Most recently, the guys in Louisiana,
yep,
was it Dads on Duty?
dad's on
Wow,
duty, yep,
yeah, that was amazing, and that was like the perfect dad moment where they're going, oh, whoa, 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 hang, think, no, no, you're gonna, dad's gonna step in. And
mm-hmm,
I'm just gonna be here. I'm gonna call you out if your socks aren't matching or whatever else. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna give you a dad joke whether you want it or not. And
right, it's all
having
about
that rapport,
positivity, yeah,
right? Yeah, and just building up the school and that experience that your kid has, but also other people's kids.
yeah,
Kids that may not have an active father, kids that may not have the parents that have the really the only thing was the fortune to where they can have someone that's there and active, that that both parents are really just forced to work all the
yeah,
time, if not two jobs, which is very common. To have dads show up and just say, hey, you know Bobby, I know your dad's not here today, but I just wanted to say, you got to learn to tie your shoes, man.
mm-hmm,
Or whatever it is for that kid. So that's some great stuff that I think we've seen dads doing over the last couple of years. It's really
oh
kind of
yeah.
changed the face of it, or what we see as, what's a dad do.
Well, I remember Pat Jacobs talking about how, like, he was so annoyed with the way that school pictures, like, were being done and how they looked and all this different stuff. And he's like, man, like, if they would just let me in, like, I could make this process so much easier and
Hmm.
make the pictures look so much better. And he went in with, it wasn't a cocky attitude. He just went in with a, hey, like, can I have an opportunity to just have a go at this?
Hmm.
And he went in there and they let him do it, and everybody loved it. And I think he's been doing it for a while now, so I don't know if he's still doing it, but for a time there, he was their guy that they were having take their school pictures and stuff, which
Nice.
for like the the ones that you order, that kind of thing, like,
Yeah, yeah.
that was what he was doing. And that's the kind of stuff. It's like, you know you have that ability, you have that experience or whatever. It's like, can I, like, make this easier? Like, maybe you don't have to go through some bigger conglomerate. Like, I do this as a business kind of thing, and
Hmm.
and make it work out. So that stuff like that, you see different guys talking about that.
I
You
think
know,
we should say before we move on, Pat
mm,
Jacobs is one of our at-home dads. He's in the
he is
network, and he's a professional photographer.
he is a
So
professional.
he's not
Yes.
necessarily a dad with a camera who walked in and tried to do this. He does have some just amazing knowledge when it
Yeah,
comes to photography. So
he does definitely. Yeah,
just
he's
so everybody knows who he is.
that's his
You know,
business. So he's
yeah,
good at it.
he is.
Um,
And he's got a teacher's heart, man. He just,
yeah.
phew, he's amazing. But anyway,
Well, and
forget what I was saying.
talking about teachers, so you've
Mhm.
got Carl Wilkie, who's
Yeah.
part of the network,
Mhm.
former board member, and I know he was a teacher, and then stepped out of that to be a stay at home dad, and
Mhm.
he's got like six kids. I don't even know.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
Six
Got a
kids.
lot of kids.
I think he's got six kids. But he's got a couple young ones still, and some unfortunate things have come about in the past couple of years, and so he took on being a sub just recently in the past year, and
Mhm.
um, basically pushed through on that, and then got into the point where I believe he just took his test to get his recertification to be a teacher again, because he ended up getting hired at his daughter's school.
Nice.
And so that was really cool to see too, because like, here's a guy that's just, trying to be there for his family in different ways, and is able to get back into the thing that he really enjoyed doing. And it was neat to see like him post about the interactions he was having with kids, and this, I think he was teaching like math or something like that, which is not a class that I would want to teach. uh, but it was amazing to see him having the connections and reactions that he was having with the students. So I was
Mhm.
really excited to see how that all transpired.
Yeah, we've
uh,
had several dads that are
yeah,
teachers.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
a couple of things. One that's basically your kid gets a little bit older, they're going to school now, so you go to school with them.
yeah,
Cool. You know?
yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like, my kids are both in school, and I've had more time to volunteer, and you kind of get to hear different things, and you see things at school while you're there. And I started talking to different people about subbing, because I was just like, what's the sub situation? Because you hear about it all over the place, just like all
Yeah.
the teachers out and stuff. And I mean, at the point, I think there was a one point they were talking. There was a conversation. This was not at our school. This was a conversation on like the news or something. I don't remember where it was, but they were talking about if it got too bad, that they would pull janitors and bus drivers in to be substitute teachers. And I was like,
Huh.
you're gonna do what? And I didn't think that it was for real, but I started seeing stuff about it. But what was even funnier was there was a guy who did a TikTok where he was dressed up as a janitor, and he's standing in front of the room, and he literally gets up there and he says, all right, kids, not really sure what we're supposed to be learning here in class today, but today we're going to learn about mop bucket systems and trash bag efficiency. We'll see where it
Hey,
goes
that's
from
life
there.
skills, man. That's life
Right,
skills.
right. And then the camera flips, and it's him like dressed up as like a kid, and he's all like, sir, you're like, yeah, what can I do for you? He's like, I'm feeling a bit sick. He's like, ooh, that's a bad one, man. If you He's like, we don't have a janitor today. you know that's where
You
that
gotta hold
goes.
it in, kid. You gotta hold it in. You got
Yeah,
anybody to clean up today?
yeah, clean up on aisle 3. We got nobody for that.
Nope, sorry.
Yeah,
Gonna have to do it yourself.
but I mean, that's the reality of things right now. I mean, some of these schools are
Hmm.
hurting to the point, like, they have to shut down or figure something else out, because that's the way it works.
Hmm.
But I ended up talking with one of the deans of the student at the school that my kids go to, and was like, what's it take to become a sub here? And he's like, are you interested? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, oh, he's like, we have an application, probably just need a resume from you, and then there's like a couple other steps, but he's like, we can get you in, man. And I'm like, okay. And so I started that process, and actually I put in the application today. I got to get the resume situated, but
Hmm.
I was talking with one of the other teachers that gets subbed around, and she's like, you are going to have work every single week once you get in here. And I'm like, you make that sound like it's a bad thing. And she's like, oh no, I'm just letting you know, like, once you
Yeah,
get in, you're in. Like,
it's
you
coming.
you will stay busy. And I'm like, great. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I have no idea what the pay is. I hope it's good. I mean, I looked online as like I think the average pay is like somewhere around like $100 a day for a substitute in the state of Ohio, but I don't know how that works for a private school. So
Yeah.
that's a state school. But anyway, I mean, but that's the thing. Like, I just have invested so much in the school. I'm excited to do that. I started out in early education, and
Mhm.
I got away from it and ended up with finishing with a degree in youth ministry. And so, they're not too far different from each other, except for the lesson plans and stuff. But I don't know that I'll be doing too much of that with being a sub. Like I'm going to follow whatever lesson plan the other teachers put
Right.
out. So, which is nice because I can go in and do that. Um,
Yeah.
so that's, and
And if
two,
it's
they
just
asked me,
for, mhm.
yeah. Well, and two, they asked me like what age bracket I wanted to. And I was like, I'll take lower school for the most part. I mean, if you've got to put me in high school, junior high, like I'll do it. But I don't
Yeah.
know that I want those kids.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's a different mindset too
Oh,
as
yeah.
kids get older and as they develop their own, their own into people, and they're going to be adults soon, and they're trying to push their way out of that that box, I guess, that they've been living in for so long. It's a
Right.
very interesting thing. It can be very difficult. I mean, anybody with teenagers, it's a trope at this point that, oh yeah, teenagers are such a pain. My teenagers have been great, but you know, I also keep them in a box and I spray them with water whenever they mouth off. No, just no kidding. But so far it's been a pretty good experience. That you just understand where they're going. But I don't think that's something I would want to try to teach a classroom, full of, I don't know, say 20 kids. I guess I don't know how many. I think it's up to 30 in the high school here.
It's
But
small here. You're
that's
it's like 13, 14 here at
hmm
the private school, so which is nice.
yeah, but that's still a dozen kids.
Yeah.
you know but you could do it, especially like you said, you've got the curriculum, you've got what you need. But I think younger kids would be easier, and they're so happy to see new people.
Oh, yeah. My kids
It's
were
just like,
excited
oh
when
my
I was like,
god.
yeah, my kids were excited when I'm like, hey, like I'm putting in an application to be a substitute teacher. They're like, wait, you could come teach in our class? I'm like, yeah, I mean, if that happens. And they're like, oh,
Hmm.
that's so cool. I'm like, hey, I'm not your dad when I'm in there, okay? Like
Right.
there will be some ground rules that said you are not to be, you will not be running amok.
Well, even if you've just gone to like a field trip,
Oh, I've done that.
like if you
Yeah.
have a field trip and you're just like one of the chaperones or whatever, your kid is so excited to see you. I mean, I
Hmm.
assume it was you the same with you, but my kids are just like, oh, Dad, and they want to run out of their classroom to be in the hallway or whatever.
Yeah.
But then everywhere we go, they're holding my hand and like, yeah, this is my dad. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, everybody's got one. Calm down, it's cool, you know. But just that joy that they have of seeing you in their school world.
Yeah.
So I'm sure being a sub, even if you just all you do is see them at lunch and wave, they're gonna have a blast.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna
I
love it.
the only part about that, like so I've done a field trip. I've gotten to go on one this year. And there were some kids I was hanging out near and they were like, man, I wish my dad could do this. And I'm like, oh gosh. I'm like, hey, listen, like your dad's probably working really hard. I imagine he probably wanted to be here, but work's important. Like that's what puts
Yeah,
food on the table and clothes on your back and keeps the house warm. They're like,
absolutely.
I know, I just wish. And I'm like, hey, I get it. I was like, I bet if you tell your dad about it that you missed him being there, that will mean the world to know that that was the case. And so
Hmm.
just to be able to speak some sort of like positivity into it, like just
Hmm.
gotta be like, hey, like don't look down on your dad just because he
Yeah,
can't be there, man.
yeah.
Like I'm sure he's
Yeah,
doing something.
and it's great to have that thought. Like the people say, well, no one on their deathbed has ever said, "I wish I'd spend more time at work,"
Oh, right.
or. And I was like, yeah, that's cool, that's fine. But we have bills we have to pay,
Yep.
and whether I want to be there or not, I've got to go take care of this. And I
Yeah.
know I worked for, I think I was 37 or 38 or something when I became an at-home dad. But I worked all my life, and I would have worked two jobs whenever I needed to. You just do what you have to do to take care of your family, and that's how they're providing for their family. And we have the opportunity to provide for our family more their mental, emotional, and growth needs, rather than necessarily the financial. I think it's great, both
Yeah.
sides. Do what you have to do. So
So yeah, and like you were saying, like it can be kind of tricky with COVID and stuff. And I mean,
yeah.
for me, like I go in masked up. This is a
Hmm.
small private Christian school, so it's varying on what you get, but they're respectful. There, it's the nice part is like there's a lot of respect there for what people are doing.
Hmm.
And so I go in, I'm masked, do my thing. I've seen where like a lot of the teachers like they know like our kids are supposed to have a mask on. And so like
Yeah.
today for instance too, like um they were walking up and I saw the teacher who like welcomes them every morning, and she's sort of a friend of ours, and she stopped them and was like, hey, where's your guys' masks? Like you could see her like asking them about it, and like they stopped and they got them out or whatever, because I usually ask them when they get out of the car, and sometimes they pull them out, sometimes they wait till they get out of the car, but it was just neat to see her like stop and say it, and I'm like, I love it. Like the staff is, trying to um honor the families, that are trying to do these different things that maybe not every family in the school is doing. And so
Hmm.
yeah, I that's a whole nother can of worms, honestly, with
It
with
is.
things. And so we're
Yeah.
not going to get into that tonight, but um
Probably for best. For
yeah,
best.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, so hopefully, for anybody who's on the fence about what they can do, it's one of those deals where it's like, if you want to be involved, push in and get involved. Like it it sometimes it might seem awkward or tough or whatever, but the benefits outweigh all of that. And you
Hmm.
know it's it brings a lot of joy. Like it will fill you up in ways that you probably didn't expect it to, honestly. And
Yeah.
that's the one thing that I appreciate more than anything else about being able to do it. So it's pretty neat. It's also neat to have a principal come up and walk up to you and tell you thank you. You're like, whoa, like, you know who I am.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. I think the principals mostly just know me by my kids. You know, they call me Mr. Mercer only because they know all my kids. They're like, "Oh, Mr. Mercer." Yeah, I'm like, "You don't know me. You know them, right? That's fine. It's cool. They're my claim to fame anyway. It's fine. I don't mind being, so and so's dad. Fine.
Yeah.
That to me is a high honorific. So I'm glad for it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna turn the corner on something that we didn't talk about, that we were gonna talk about this, but in the news, we had a sad moment in the news in the dad world, because one of the famous TV dads
Oh yeah.
of the 90s died unexpectedly. Bob Saget, better known as Danny Tanner from Full House. And
Yeah.
I don't know how you felt about that, but honestly, like, he was an interesting guy. Like, he was involved
Hmm.
in all kinds of different things, and he was sort of seen as like that quintessential TV dad, sort of like how some people saw Bill Cosby at one point, like he
Hmm.
was he was the TV dad, or Uncle Phil or whatever. And so he lines
Oh,
up
Uncle Phil, man.
he lines up in that realm with all those different TV dads and such. And
Hmm.
but it was interesting because, like, he was one guy on Full House, he was another guy on like the stage, and how he had his comedy act and stuff. And but if you think about it, though, I mean, aren't all dads kind of in that way? I mean, you could be seen as one guy in one realm and then another guy in a completely different realm sometimes. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there were people who were like, how can people look at him as like being like this, like all encompassing like dad or whatever? It's like, because, like, if he's around like kids and like small kids and stuff, he's going to act differently than when he's around grown adults, that kind of
Hmm.
thing. And that's exactly what it was.
It's really funny because he was a stand-up comedian, and I was aware of him because his character's name was Danny, so I'm like, oh, neat, yeah, cool. It's just a thing. If there was a character named Brock, you'd be like, oh, hey, what's Brock doing this week?
Yeah, like
It's just
Brock the
that.
Pokemon trainer.
that
That's mine.
yeah, yeah, I forgot about that guy
Yeah.
because he's not named Danny, so I let him go. But Bob Saget tried so hard to stop being like that, looked at like as just a funny kind of soft uh, teddy bear kind of dad person, and he tried
Right.
stand-up comedy and he tried rap. I mean, he had some just what turned out to be hilarious rap, and a video that he had out for that and all that stuff. And the more and more he tried to be a little more hardcore, the more I kind of loved him. The more I kind of thought of him more as, yes, that's what a dad would do. You're so
Right.
adorable trying to be all big and bad. And no, you're a teddy bear. Come on.
Yeah.
It was just the more he did, the better I think the more appealing that he became.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
he's got
it's,
and he's got I think like 3 kids or something like that. And so it's one of
yeah.
those things where it's like, he's got 3 daughters, I believe. And it's just it's sad that, they have to go through this loss and that kind of thing. And
Of course. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was just such a weird thing to hear, because he was just getting back into the comedy scene again
Yeah.
after taking such a hiatus on stuff.
Did a
So
show the night before, is what I heard.
he did. He had just done a show the night before. He had tweeted out that it was such a great experience, and then yeah, it was all over after that. And so that was, I don't know. This is kind of a weird situation, but that's I feel like that's kind of been the thing. It's like no one no one can seem to be just like fully prepared for that kind of stuff. And
Oh yeah.
I just kind of wanted to bring it up because like I said, like he's sort of the quintessential TV dad, and falls in
Mhm.
line with a lot of other of those guys. So and it's interesting because like it, even that show itself had its own very interesting sort of like 3 Men and a Baby slash like um you know, just
Yeah.
outside of the box living situation for even that era of
Mhm.
TV and stuff. So for as funny as it was, I mean, they were pushing boundaries in some different ways with how you know, family life was. And I that's that was really cool to see. And yeah, so anyway, just wanted
Yeah.
to put that out there. Like it was just, it's just weird, and it's just been kind of sitting on me in an odd way, which is funny because I don't have any connection to him whatsoever. um I did think it was interesting too, like do you know Josh Levs? Have you?
Yes.
Okay, so Josh and Bob Saget, like he knows Bob like well, like,
Oh
and
wow. Cool.
yeah, and it was interesting because like when they announced that he had passed, like Josh put out a statement on his like Facebook feed about how like he's like, I just talked to him like 2 weeks ago on the
Mhm.
phone, and you know, just the things that he was like, he seemed very excited for his life and what was going to be happening and stuff. And I'm like, man, like one, and that's, I mean, it's cool that for me, like from a celebrity standpoint, I'm like, wow, like you knew him like that well, like that's really
Yeah.
cool. But
Brush
then
with
to
the
like,
name.
yeah, but then too, like, I mean, Josh is famous anyways in his own way.
Well,
uh
that's the other thing. You should tell our listeners who Josh Levs is, because I know I've seen him presentation he did at Raleigh
yeah,
and
I
uh,
I know
fun.
very little about Josh. I've only like lightly met him. I know that he's very big, proactive in fatherhood. He wrote a
Definitely.
book. Um, he's been I think he was on NPR. He was like an NPR guy or something like that. I'm sorry, Josh. Like, I, I like he was at, I think, my very first dad too, I believe, and I didn't actually get to meet him, but I believe he was there, and then I think he was in Portland for Home Dad Con, if I'm not mistaken,
May have
or
been Portland. Yeah, I can't remember if it was Portland or Raleigh.
Raleigh. I
But
know he was at Raleigh.
no,
I knew he was at
yeah.
Raleigh, but I didn't know if he went to Portland or not too.
But
But
he wrote the book All In: How Our Work
yes,
First Culture Fails Dads, Families, and Businesses, and How We Can Fix It Together. And I know that because I looked it up. But Josh, I swear I'm a huge fan. I know everything about. No, I don't. I know your name, and I know his name, and I saw him at a um, uh, uh, Home Dad Con, and he'd worked at CNN or NPR in
yes,
Atlanta
yes,
previously. You
yeah.
know, that's that I remember that because I'm. Oh yeah, Atlanta. Yeah, we're like
Right.
best friends now.
Well,
Yeah, you know anything Atlanta?
Carl Wilkie knows him because when Carl had gone to visit his daughter at one point when she was down in the Atlanta area, he went and like had lunch with him and got to hang out with him for a bit and sent me a
Cool.
bunch of pictures to like post social media wise for the organization and stuff. So yeah, but
Nice.
the interesting connection there, like lightly with the organization through somebody else kind of deal to Bob Saget, the five
Yeah.
stages of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, I was gonna say next is Kevin Bacon. Got to figure
Kevin
that one in
Bacon.
there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there's, I don't know, man. Like what's going on with you? Like I know that there's birthdays going on. Yours is coming up. When's yours? Yeah.
My son turned 9 on the 5th.
Right, the 2 days
It's the
before
biggest
mine.
one.
Yep.
Yep. And then mine's the 17th.
Yours is the 17th. Is that Martin Luther King Day?
Indeed.
It is. Okay.
Yep. So
That's coming up.
every year when I was working, I should say, I get the day off.
There you go.
Be like, yeah, I get the day off. Well, actually, most of the time it was construction. It's like, you want to take a day off, you take the day off. We're not paying you. I'm like, oh man, I guess I'll work.
See,
It's my birthday, man.
I worked for a logistics company back in the day where they actually had it written into like the employee benefits that you got your birthday off and
Oh,
paid.
nice.
It was a paid deal.
Sweet.
And if you didn't want to take it on the day of your birthday, like you could basically like take it anytime, like use it. So like for instance, like you make it like a 3-day weekend or something like that, which is
Hmm.
kind of neat.
That's
Um,
cool.
so I thought that was pretty cool. That was a lot of fun actually. I did that for a couple of years.
Like I can imagine too, because especially when you become an adult, even no matter I think how involved you are with birthdays for your kids, you kind of put yourself, like second. And am I
Yeah,
going to get a day off? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, if the kids are in school, I'll kind of have a few hours that I still have to do all the stuff I have to do at home, and it's not really a day off because there's no days off in this job, I think. But
right.
but having that moment of going to work and or having your boss go, hey, I know Tuesday's your birthday, so expect to not see you here, and we're still paying you.
Yeah,
Wow, what?
that's pretty
That's
wild.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
nice.
I, I kind of, I guess, drift that into something else here. So, like, I mean, that's like a self care thing in a way too.
Hmm.
And I was telling you before, we got on tonight. I just was feeling all kinds of like depression and defeat. And I said part of it was probably due to the fact that I was just hungry and my blood sugar was not in the right spot. But at the same time, too, like, I mean, those emotions are real and
Hmm.
definitely tough, especially when it's like, for me, it was like the sink is overflowing. My kid is acting crazy. I'm trying to cook dinner. And then on top of it, I'm trying to deal and juggle with all this shit that's just like swirling around in my head.
Yep.
And my wife came out and she was like, I'm done with work for the day. What do you need help with? And like I was like, I don't even know where to begin right now. Like I like just was numb.
Yeah.
And she didn't push, which was great. She gave me a few minutes to just sort of like collect myself. And then I just was like, you know what? Like, can you just unload and reload the dishwasher? Because like that is just annoying the crap out of me just looking at it right now. And she was like,
Hmm.
yeah, I can do that. And I'm like, all right. And so like she took care of that while I finished cooking dinner. And it definitely helped alleviate a lot of stress in that fashion. But I was thinking to myself, like, just kind of like giving myself a little self analysis. And I'm like, man, like from a self care standpoint, like I have not taken care of myself well over the
Hmm.
past few weeks. And I don't even know what that even looks like right now, especially with like the way things are going in the world with COVID and stuff. It's like
Yeah.
I feel, it's like I want to go do something self-care wise, but at the same time, like I feel guilty to say like I need to go do XYZ thing, or I'd like to go do these things. And
Hmm.
part of it too is like it's cold and I don't want to do those things.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, it's like I got to figure something out. I tried to just like my oldest was doing homework. My youngest was just having fun with a toy that she was playing with from Christmas. And I was like, screw it. Like, I'm going to turn a Super Nintendo on and just play like Super Mario 2 for a little while and just try to see if that
Yeah.
does something. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice, but it's like it's very, very small situation. And he's like just trying, something. But
Yeah.
I definitely am in a place where I got to figure something out because um, I don't like feeling like this at
Hmm.
all. And I
Of
know that
course.
if I don't find a way to get out of it, I'm just gonna keep like basically sinking further and further into it, and that's just not going to end well. Not is this not going to end well in the fashion of like I'm just going to be grumpy and it's
Yeah.
just not good for my family in any kind of shape or way. So I got to figure that out what that looks like exactly for me. Part of it is too is that uh we just had basement work done and just the disarray that's going on downstairs and
Yeah.
trying to get that all together and still dealing with some of it. I'm like, man, I just if I can get that put back together downstairs, that would help. And then,
Hmm.
I can move on to other things. So, um, yeah, I just wanted to be real about it because, like, I feel like sometimes, it's like, all right, do I want to come on here and just like fake my emotions and be all happy, or can I just share the fact that I feel like crap? And so I,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I
And
see
it's
guys online talk about it all the time. I'm like, I'm just gonna put it out there. Like, there's enough guys
absolutely,
listening,
I'll listen
right?
always. I mean, that's
Definitely.
definite. So now you've been missing, let's say, your self care.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about that, of having not getting that done? Do you feel bad you haven't done it, or guilty you haven't done it, or does it give you any negative emotions about that fact itself?
It's just an empty feeling, honestly. Like,
Okay.
almost a loss, I guess, in some
Hmm.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially with like, for me, like, it's been a weird situation because like I don't I want to get into like some of the exercise things that I do, but my physical training stuff
Hmm.
for my shoulder have been told to like wait, which is really annoying. And so I can only do so much, and that's weighing on it. But I think just to motivation, having the motivation to want to do it as well. So it's a weird tug of war. Um, and it's daily,
Yeah.
but finding just even small ways to like move forward is one of the things that's helping me like stay afloat versus feeling like I'm drowning.
Well, I mean, look at it though. You've just come out of surgery. You're still recovering. You've still got physical therapy to do. You're not physically 100% from
Right.
that. Second, we all just came out of that lawless wasteland full of cheese that is Christmas Day to New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Just that, what do you want to eat? I don't want to do anything. I want to watch movies. I don't care. Let's just, kids want to stay up late. We just kind of let loose through that time. And then turn around on January 1st, and we're 10 days into the new year.
Yeah.
You're developing your swing. You're getting there to where you get back to where you need to be. Some of us can jump right back into it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know those people, but I'm sure they exist. You know, I personally, no, I'm pulling the cradle of the aircraft as hard as I can towards me to keep the nose up
Yeah.
till we can get out of this first couple of weeks or months. I don't know. And then
Plus sitting on pins and needles, wondering what's gonna come down the pipeline with all the COVID stuff too.
bingo,
Like,
bingo.
or are we gonna get an email that says things are shut down? Like,
Hmm.
am I gonna get an email
Yeah.
saying that somebody in my kid's class like tested positive, and then what's that gonna be? I mean, like, I've seen guys like Joe Saladino's dealing with that and his kid and stuff, and
Yeah. All the
um,
dads are.
yeah, so it's just a lot of heavy.
It's exhausting. And the last, what, 2, 3 years have been exhausting.
Right.
I mean, we're constantly in all the things that are involved in that. We've talked about it before, and I think everybody's aware of it, but it's draining. And when that drain starts, one, it gets into depression, and depression just eats your motivation. There's
Oh
no
yeah.
motivation left. But
Hmm.
the good thing is one, you recognize it. You looked at yourself and went, huh, this isn't right. Oh, I didn't eat. You know, that's a big, and that happens a lot. I know it's like,
Didn't
oh,
eat or didn't eat
I
anything
didn't
that was of
eat,
quality.
right? Yeah, I had the kids' leftovers again or whatever.
I
That's the worst, but
I
I
ate a
think that's
few.
how we
Yeah,
exist.
I ate a few potato chips and a Rice Krispie treat square.
Right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. I ate whatever was close. I just had other things to do and I had to get moving. And that's
Yeah.
easy to do, but it's not something to beat yourself up about.
Right.
You really are in a better place even right in this moment because you do recognize what it is and you know what you need to do from there to move out of it,
Yeah.
and that you want to move out of it, which is a big thing. A lot of
That.
times I don't
Yeah.
want to move out of my depression. A lot of times I'm just like, no, I'm just going to lay here and you know what a buffalo wallow is?
Yep.
Well, they flip over on the back and just make a big ditch for them. So that's me. I'm
Yeah.
just big old buffalo wallow sitting there. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't do anything. I don't want to get up.
I can't sit in that kind of thing, man, because like from my past, like sitting in that, like it leads
It's
to
bad.
suicide. It leads to suicidal thoughts for me. Like it
Hmm.
really does. And
Yeah.
so I've I've made it a point to not get anywhere even near that. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's
That's great for you.
it,
That's
and
great
that's
that you do that.
it. Honestly, a lot of it for me just comes down to because I was not a mindful like person, and that's I guess a really cliche word to use, honestly, in some ways. But just being able to like assess what's going on
Hmm.
um was something that I never really like until I met some of the guys here in the network and stuff, like it didn't really come into a factor for me. But it's nice to be able to have a lot of the guys to be able to like send a message to and just be like,
Hmm.
today sucks. And even have
Yeah.
other people be like, I feel you, today does
Right.
suck.
Right. Today
Right along
does
with you.
suck.
Like, awesome. Like, let's talk about how today sucks. And like,
Right.
can we
That's it.
all right. And
That's
then
it.
it's like,
You're in the trenches, right?
and then it's like, what can we do to make it less suck? So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just wanted to share that because I'm definitely feeling better just being able to talk. To like I said, my wife being able to step in and just,
Hmm.
not push. She because she at first she was like, what'd she say? Something like, how are you feeling? Or something like that. And then she was like, let me rephrase that. How's your day been? Like, and I was like, oh, well, and I just started like listing off all these different things. And I'm like, and now I feel like this. Like I'm
Yeah.
in like for whatever reason, like I have hit a tank low. And she's like, do you think that, maybe eating some dinner and stuff will help? I'm like, I hope so. I don't know. Like, we'll have to see. And, you
Hmm.
know, the other part of it is that like I gotta put my kids to bed. So part of me's got to put on some kind of face to be able to be like, I gotta get through this routine.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so like I said, like finding different ways to push forward, but in a positive way. You're not pushing it down, you're letting
Hmm.
it out, you're processing through it. And
Yes.
that's the thing that, like I said, I feel like I've come to a better place at. Um, but
Good.
I just wanted to share that because, like I said, I keep seeing guys who are definitely dealing with different things, and I hope that the guys listening, you know, feel like there's some camaraderie
Hmm.
from that. I love seeing Brett Landry post that he was listening to the show in his car while running errands today. That was cool.
Yeah, I love Brett.
Um, I love those kind
Brett,
of things. Like,
I got to tell you, I'd met Brett before,
I hope to
and
get to
then
meet him.
like about 3 years ago, my mom passed away. Right now, I was in a tailspin. I didn't have any thoughts in my head at that point. But we're going to the funeral, and Brett comes up because he lived about maybe an hour away on the other side of Atlanta, right?
Oh man, that's
And
nice.
uh, and I mean, I look at him, and my brain just isn't like, what?
Yeah,
What? You're here. I mean, and I was so just touched. It's like because he didn't, tell me he was coming. Obviously, he just decided he was going to come. He said, "Yeah, you're in a spot. You need some help. I'm here for you." And he
yeah,
is. And he's just one of those guys that's just, well, like most of the dads, I think,
yeah,
in the network. It's just one of those men you just know you can depend on him. And he's just such a good person, like capital G, good person.
yeah.
Not perfect, makes mistakes like the rest of us, messes
Takes
things up,
amazing pictures
whatever.
though.
But yeah, has an amazing drone too. I'm so jealous. But
Yeah,
yeah, he does some great stuff. And and what he does with his kids and his family and the things that he's been through. And I'm not going to tell his story, of course, anyway. But the things that he's done in his life to try to make himself into the best dad he can be.
yeah,
Yeah, I love Brett. Brett, if
yeah.
you listen, I love you. Also, Ed Levezzo, shout out to my boy. Just saying, because I said I would. Uh, just if anybody doesn't know, Ed's the treasurer for the on the board of the executive board for the National At Home Dad Network, but also just a really cool dude.
He just
So
signed up for a half marathon.
man's just going. I mean,
Yeah,
I
he's
can't even reconcile the man I met when I
oh
first met him and the man he is now. Man, he's just all up all the time,
yeah.
just
I mean, he's
just like a
volunteer
rocket.
firefighter. He's
Dude
dropped
is
a
doing it.
dropped
Yeah.
a ton of weight, and he's still dropping weight. Like, his goals and stuff. Like him and Ket Solomon. Like I said, we're all in a text message together. Like I feel bad because like they're all like heading in their goals, and I'm like, I'm just sitting here trying to get started. Like, and it's not, it's like not for one thing, that's for sure. But
It's
um,
your shoulder, man.
I
You can't.
know.
Don't
I'm,
push that. You're 40,
eh,
dude. You,
I,
you know,
I
you're
yeah,
over the hill, man. I hate to tell you.
yeah. Don't
It's
say
all
that.
down. No, I'm telling you, it's physically, it's not going to heal. You got to give it time. Don't let those
I
little boys,
hey,
those
I
little boys come over here and tell you how to run, when
so
to run.
so update on that. Like I did get released from my surgeon. I'm good there. Like he's like, you're good. He actually tried to tell me that I was like didn't have to go to PT anymore. When I went back to my PT person and said that, they're like, I'm going to text him. He's like, he doesn't get the ability to discharge you. That's my job. And so like, I've got another probably 7 weeks with him. But I mean, I started doing more physical stuff today with that, and so I'm excited about it because he's really like, he's like, we're gonna have some fun now. I'm like, awesome, like let's do it. What are we doing? And he pushed me through a bunch of stuff. He's like, how are you feeling? I'm like, it's sore, but it's not painful. And he was like, good. He's like, that's where you need to stay at. And so yeah, I'm getting there. But anyway,
good.
Yeah. Good. So well, I think we're up against the hour, up against the wall. Man. It's been a good conversation. Always
I
is.
Hope you're feeling better. I hope you are.
Definitely. I hope everybody listening is feeling better if they weren't as well. And other than that, I mean, I want to get some guests on here. That's the other thing I want to do. I really want to bring some guys on and talk to them or whatever. So
sure.
Hopefully we can figure that out in the next couple of weeks here.
Just me.
No. It's fun just to bring some other guys.
Just me too.
I figured that the listeners are just tired of hearing from us. That's all.
Well, I did hear they were tired of hearing of you, but
that's probably
so far.
I don't blame them. I get it. I totally get it. You're on the board. I'm not on the board. They want to hear from you.
Well, yeah, it's kind of flip flop there, isn't it, buddy?
It is.
By the way, I got a bunch of stuff I can't tell you.
That's awesome.
No, I don't actually have anything. Everything so far is like, oh yeah, this is the stuff we're doing, like public face. Oh man, I want some secrets.
All in time.
Too bad. So sad.
It's all good. But I know that home DadCon stuff is starting to, work itself out, so people can get all excited about that. But anyway, we'll digress. So anyway, y'all have a great week, and we'll talk to y'all next week. Have a good one,
everybody.
Night.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.